Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. The road to Doomsday continues. We are in the fourth era of Marvel films, which is also phase 3 of the MCU. This is the last era of independent Fox films before Fox gets absorbed by Disney, and then we start seeing Fox characters show up in the Disney Marvel films. To kick off this era is probably the most maligned of all the Marvel movies. I think this film gets more critiques and hate than any other. I know I defended Amazing Spider-Man 2 in a video recently, which I'm sure people will have mixed feelings about, but I think there is no film that has come under more fire, more criticism than 2015's Fantastic Four. You'll see here the Fantastic Four in a city, in a fight that does not appear in this movie. And therein lies the problem with this flick. I will start off by saying that this is not a terrible movie. I think its score of 4.3 on IMDb is a little bit unfair. I think that this film has a lot of potential, and that's what's most frustrating about it is there's some really great ideas. The first hour of this film is origins, and then the climax comes very, very quickly. And that's probably the biggest problem with it. Josh Trank has gone on record as saying that there's a lot of studio interference. This film seems to have been developed simply so that Fox could retain the rights to the Fantastic Four, because it had been 10 years, or coming in on 10 years since the first film. I think it was 7 years since the second film, and they were going to lose the rights very, very soon. They didn't want to, so they made this. The biggest problem with this film, and I talked about it when I reviewed it last year, is that it doesn't feel like a Fantastic Four movie. It's very dark. It's very disconnected. No one in this group are friends. Like, Reed and Ben are friends, but that dissolves very quickly, which is very true to the comics. There is some tension there. And Johnny and Sue don't really feel like family. They're pleasant enough to each other, but there's a real lack of family, which I felt in the other films as well. The one that I think captures the essence of the Fantastic Four the most is the most recent film. However, I think this film, for me, has the best Doctor Doom. His look is really cool. I know people don't like the kind of fused metal suit, but I'm kind of cool with it. When he first appears in the Negative Zone, or Planet Zero, as they call it in this movie, he looks really cool. His power set is fantastic. He's blowing heads up left and right. There's blood everywhere. It's really quite full on. And whilst I do feel the origins takes far too long in this movie, I think the body horror approach to it is really interesting. We hadn't seen it like that before. When we see their origins in the 1994 one, it's all very quick. They're in a field and they discover their powers. In the 2005 one, they are in a similar situation. They're in a lab under observation, but it's a lot more playful. This is dark. Which is, I guess, is part of my critique of the film, because the Fantastic Four should be quite light, should be quite fun. But I do like the body horror angle here. I just wish there was more to it. And I believe there is a version out there. Josh Trank has gone on record saying he doesn't want his cut to be released now. He's kind of done with the Fantastic Four. He wants it put to bed and not to be resurrected, which is a real shame. Because I would like to see what his vision was. I imagine it would have been a lot longer. This is an hour and a half, which is quite short for superhero films, especially in the 2010s. We probably could have got another half an hour in there, and that would have filled out a lot of the gaps in the film. But I have no problem with the performances. I like Miles Teller as Reed Richards. He's very ambitious. He's very driven. I can also see a world in which a younger Reed Richards is a bit too cocky. I like that he feels guilty for what he's done to Ben. I like this version of Sue Storm. I like that she's much more of a scientist. Jessica Alba's wonderful and really brings a lot of heart to the performance. But I like that this version of Sue is a lot more scientifically minded. I think what they did with Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm is a more focused kind of recklessness, if that makes sense. In the original films with Chris Evans, he's just kind of a hothead, very kind of like a main character energy type character, whereas this one we see just a little bit more I don't know, it just feels a bit more real. And I like Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, so I like all of them in it, and I like a lot of the things they're doing in the film. It just doesn't quite piece together the way that it should. Tonally, it doesn't make sense as a Fantastic Four movie, and when it does get really cool, the film ends. So it just needs a little bit more footage in there. But all in all, I think it's a decent film, certainly not worthy of the 4.3 on IMDb, and worth a second viewing. So in terms of Doomsday and Secret Wars, do I think any of these people are coming back? I don't think that Michael B. Jordan will come back. He's Killmonger now, and even though Killmonger has passed away, in the franchise. We saw him in the sequel as a Vision, and I could see a multiversal version of his Killmonger. I don't think he'll come back as Johnny Storm. I don't know if we're going to get another Thing. I think we are going to get a Thing back in the movies. It's probably going to be the Michael Chiklis one and not the this one here. But I'd take him. I'd take him in a heartbeat. Same with Kate Mara as Invisible Woman. I don't think she's going to come, but I'd love to see Miles Teller. I think he would be a really cool member of the Council of Reeds. There's been a theory that he's going to come back as the Maker, which is like an evil version of Reed Richards. I'd be cool with that. I could see a world in which this version, of Reed Richards became so haunted and plagued by his mistakes that he became a villain. I kind of like that angle. And I would like Tony Kebbell to come back as Doctor Doom. If we're going to do a Council of Dooms, he's the best one so far of all the Dooms we've had. And we've had 3 great Dooms, but I think he's the best one so far, so I'd love to see him back as well. But anyway, that's Fantastic Four, the 2015 version. If you haven't seen it because of the reviews, give it a chance. Check it out. I think you'll agree with me that whilst it's not a perfect film, and it's probably the weakest of the Fantastic Four films, it's got some really great ideas in there, and the performances are good. If you haven't seen it in a while, give it another go. But that's Fantastic Four. Next up is Deadpool.